Hi everyone, I'm State Senator Joan Lovely. I represent the 2nd Essex District. I'm very happy to be here today to give you a Beacon Hill update. And I first want to say thank you to Peabody Access Television for the opportunity to be able to bring these updates to you. The amazing work that they do throughout the community of Peabody, it's really, really terrific. Last time I was here was back in June, so we've actually done quite a bit of work in the legislature since then. We finalized our budget in June. We actually went into conference committee for the budget in July. And then we ended our work promptly on July 31st at about 1 a.m. in the morning. Actually, that would have been August 1st at 1 a.m. And that what wrapped up our formal sessions for the 190th General Court. So the state legislature is called the General Court. 190 sessions, that's 2-year sessions, 380 years of legislating here in Massachusetts. I'm very happy to be coming back for the 191st session next year. But let me give you a little recap on what we've done in this past session. We worked on the budget, as I said. I'm the Vice Chair of Ways and Means. We currently don't have a Chair of Ways and Means, so I'm leading the effort for that committee. And we worked on doing a lot of local earmarks for the community of Peabody, including now this is all done with my great partnership with Representative Walsh here. And so we actually were able to earmark $100,000 to reduce the public school kindergarten class sizes. We also got $1.4 million for the YMCAs and $1.7 million for the Boys and Girls Clubs. That's to do all of the after-school programming, in-session programming for them as well. And we also got $16 million for the Mass Cultural Council. And that council actually gives out grants to all the various communities, of which Peabody is also a recipient. We did a supplemental budget, just passed that about 3 weeks ago. And Governor Baker signed that. And some of the key investments that we made with the supplemental budget is we put $240 million into the Rainy Day Fund. Now, the Rainy Day Fund is a fund that when our economy is in a downturn and we're not doing well, we can turn to that money to be able to keep state government running. So with that $240 million infusion, we now have about $2 billion in that account. And we will continue to grow that. It's actually very important for our bond rating to make sure that we get low interest loans when we go out to borrow money. We also approved $40 million for additional work on our roads and bridges that we need all across the Commonwealth. And we also allocated $10 million for the Merrimack Valley Fund. That's for those gas explosions that happened up in the Merrimack Valley in Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover. And there's the efforts underway right now to restore that service up there. The local residents have been very patient, and businesses, as I think it's 50 miles worth of roadway are being dug up to replace all of those gas pipelines. And a final notable for the supplemental budget was $7.5 million for mental health and behavioral health for kids in our public schools. The next thing that we did and finished up on this session was economic development. Now, this is something that we do every session, and we provide key funding for workforce training programs and job creation. And some of those notable funding is $75 million in competitive grants for technical education and workforce training programs. That's so that we can create jobs. We are in a good economy, as I stated, and the unemployment rate is low, but we want to keep it that way. And we always do have kids who are graduating from high school and college who are entering the workforce. We want to make sure that we have jobs available. We also allocated $250 million for the MassWorks infrastructure program, and that supports construction jobs. Again, roadways, bridges, but also restoring historic ports and community revitalization projects as well. And we did $500 million in local economic development aid, again, available to communities like Peabody, who may be looking at projects they want to do, may not have those funds, they can apply for these grants. You may know, or you also know, that we did a sales tax holiday back in August. That's something I've always supported, and now we are actually going to be having a permanent sales tax holiday in every August going forward. So you'll be able to plan those purchases it's always before school to ease after back to school shopping, but also for different types of purchases as well. And so also in this, we allocated some funding, particularly for Peabody, $250,000 for wayfinding and signage for Centennial Business Park. You get into the park and you're always not quite sure where you might be going, where that business is that you're trying to find. We also allocated $1.2 million to the renovation of the St. Paul's Church to serve as a children's museum. That's a very exciting project that the city is really excited about, and so the state wanted to also support that as well. $350,000 for the redesign of roadways in the Pulaski Mills area, and $150,000 for welcome signs to Peabody. Again, so when people come here, they know where they're going. So I'm very excited about that, that bill and everything that will bring back to our communities. The Senate also passed a clean energy bill. Again, a very important policy area as we're talking about climate change, as we're seeing our weather systems continue to deteriorate. We're seeing many more very, very powerful tornadoes and hurricanes, all related to climate change. So we looked to increase our renewable energy portfolio standards. For example, lifting the cap on solar net metering. That allows more solar to be put up on roofs and to be able to, again, use less greenhouse gases. And we implemented statewide energy storage goals. So when we're creating energy, either by solar or by wind, we want to be able to store it, and you store it in really great big batteries. And so we have that technology. We want to put that in place, be able to store that power that we gain, that clean power that we gain from directly from sun and wind. So that was very, very important that we worked on that, and we're going to continue to work in this regard, again, so that we don't rely as much on fossil fuels. We don't burn coal here in Massachusetts anymore, but we do rely on clean natural gas. For example, you'll see the new power plant over in Salem that burns gas. That power plant is slated to burn gas for probably 30 to 40 years, where it will be taken offline. And at that time, we should be completely powering our homes and our businesses and our vehicles on renewable energy. Again, like wind and solar. So very exciting. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about addiction treatment. I want to say thank you to recently there was an opioid vigil right here in Peabody downtown. Many people came and spoke. A lot of people came, parents who have lost children to addiction, and also survivors, people who have been able to move on from addiction and be able to, continue to be supported as they get their lives back. And so at the state level, we also are taking a look at making sure that we're doing all that we can to increase options and opportunity to care. So we did a bill, the CARE Act, and a few examples of what we're attempting to accomplish is the bill increases access to medication-assisted treatment. That's MAT treatment. So medication-assisted treatment is you may, instead of using heroin, you may use Suboxone, methadone. It's a treatment that will keep the person from coming off an opioid, but it's not that intense intensity of being addicted to heroin. It also, in conjunction with other treatments, people are able to come off medication-assisted treatment as well, but it's a starting point. And so we look at that as expanding our prevention efforts by actually trying to help people in this regard. We're also looking at how addiction and mental illness go together fairly often. So how can we help people who are having some type of mental health issue to be able to, again, if they have substance use disorder and they are using an opiate, then how can we help them in both those regards? So we're working very closely with the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Public Health, the Bureau of Substance Addiction Services, to make sure that we are, again, bringing all of the tools in the toolbox that we have available. We are actually seeing the number of overdose deaths trickle down a little bit. That's the good news. But it's coming down slow, but we're seeing efforts that we've put into place over the last 2 and 3 sessions that we're finally starting to see turning the corner a little bit. Now, I will stress to you that what I've been told and what I've heard is that there's very little heroin on the streets anymore. It's all now fentanyl, and fentanyl is 100 times more powerful than heroin is, and so that's why we're seeing a spike in overdoses. The good news is that we now have Narcan, naloxone, available. I actually filled a prescription myself. I was trained in how to deliver Narcan and went to the pharmacy, CVS, and asked if I could fill a prescription, and they said yes, no questions asked. I carry it with me in my pocketbook because I saw a gentleman collapse in Market Basket 4 years ago from an overdose. And I didn't know what to do. I wasn't trained, but I had a pretty good idea what was happening. The first responders were there. It seemed like a minute. They revived him and then took him to the hospital. And I said, right then and there, I said, I need to be trained and carry naloxone. I have not had to use it. I haven't seen another overdose since then, but I'm prepared in case I do. And I would encourage anyone who's watching this, if you feel strongly about it, it was very easy to do. You don't need a prescription from a physician. Any pharmacy will fill that prescription. So, in my estimation, maybe someday I might save a life, or you might save a life if you carry it as well. It's tough things to talk about, but it's the world we live in and the reality, and we want to make sure that we're helping everybody who is having difficulties. So a lot of great work that we're doing. We're working very closely with our police officers, our first responders. I want to say thank you to our first responders because they are the first ones that will come across someone when they're called in an emergency to save a life. So thank you to all the first responders who respond every day. It's not easy work. So we're doing great work, and we're going to continue to do this work until we solve this public health crisis. And my heart goes out to everyone out there who has lost a loved one or is dealing with a loved one who is struggling. Know that we are there, and if you need help, please call my office. We will connect you to services. So I wanted to move on to another subject about Alzheimer's. We have done some legislation this year to help train responders, medical people who are responding to Alzheimer's and dementia, to make sure that people who are, again, family members who are struggling with Alzheimer's have the latest technology and that our caregivers are properly trained. So this is a first in the country bill, believe it or not. And so we wanted to make sure that, again, to provide caregivers, medical providers, hospital administrators with the proper training to recognize and better understand Alzheimer's. My own dad had Alzheimer's and passed away about 12 years ago from Alzheimer's. So I saw the difficulty it was for his primary caregiver, my mother, when he was battling that disease. It's not easy, but please know that we are, again, continuing to address these needs in the Commonwealth. Let me switch another gear and talk about an environmental bond bill that we did this session. Again, to improve our environment, help us better prepare, again, for the effects of climate change. We included funding for dredging projects along the coast, And several of those projects, right here in Peabody, $1.5 million for a new drainage system and flood mitigation in downtown Peabody. Peabody has done quite a bit to mitigate its flooding right in downtown, and you've seen the fruits of that effort, that the flooding events have decreased quite a bit, but there's more to do. So we support the mayor and the city council and the administration by providing these funding opportunities to be able to do more, especially for upstream storage. If you hold that water back from coming downtown all at once, then we can decrease flooding dramatically. And that's what's been happening. We're going to continue to support Peabody by doing that. So a little bit more. So I had said at the beginning that I represent 5 communities. So we were actually able to get $1 million to construct a new water treatment plant in the town of Topsfield. We also have the opportunity for $500,000 to repair the Green Energy Park in Beverly, right at Beverly High School. That's actually the very first solar field that was ever built in the country, is right here in our own backyard in Beverly. And it still works, and we still want to support it, to keep it going. And then Salem was looking for money for its Forest River pool. That's a big pool over in the Forest River community pool, but it needs some work. So Salem is looking for some funding to be able to keep that pool available for its community. So these are some of the things that we do, again, to be able to bring these state funding opportunities to our local communities that would otherwise not be able to afford to do some of this work. And we're very proud to be able to do that. Let me talk a little bit about automatic voter registration, a bill I was very proud to support. This creates a framework for eligible voters. They'll be automatically registered when they receive services from the Registry of Motor Vehicles, Mass Health, and other participating agencies. That doesn't mean you have to vote, although we hope that you do. It's very important that you vote in every election. I don't think I've missed one since I turned 18, and it really is your voice and your strength to be able to tell elected officials who have your same values, who will work hard for you and communicate with you. That's really a very key piece of voting and being involved. So everyone out there, please vote on Tuesday, November 6th. Very important. Next, I'd like to talk about a bill that I sponsored with Rep. Lori Ehrlich. She's the Marblehead representative, about safe drinking water in our schools. So over the last few years, we've discovered that we still have lead pipes in many of our schools across the Commonwealth. This district is no different than others. We have identified where some of those lead pipes are in the schools. And now what we want to do is be able to have the funding available to remove those lead pipes, because we know that lead poisoning in children is extremely serious, and we want to be able to have our children go off to school to be healthy and happy, and not have parents worry that there could be lead in the water. So we are creating a commission to take a look at, confirming where the lead pipes are in schools. I would tell you that the city of Brockton has already taken this on, and they have replaced all of their water bubblers, not only with new bubblers, but also, and have removed all the lead piping, but also with a monitor that says everything that's in that water. It's very state-of-the-art. It costs them about $200,000, I believe. And so we're going to be taking a look at that as well, again, to make sure that every school is safe and ready for education and not have to worry about any lead in the water. So stay tuned for that bill as we advance that through the session next year. So I will tell you that we ended our formal session on, again, I said August 1st at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then the legislature went into what we call informal session. So by Constitution, we meet every 72 hours, round the calendar, round the each week and right through the calendar, the whole year. So an informal session. So in the State House, that's Mondays and Thursdays. Both the House and the Senate meet on Mondays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. informally. So what does that mean? What that means is if I have a particular bill that I'm trying to advance and I have no opposition, and then I'm going to be able to advance that bill and get it passed through informal session. But if I have a bill that even one person in the legislature objects to, and there's 200 members, it takes one objection, and if the bill is objected to, then it dies in session and it can't be advanced again until the following session. So it's very important that we try to get all of our work done during formal sessions. But informal session, which is the last 5 months of the year, is we still get a lot of work done, but again, just one person can object. So that's what we're doing now. We're actually looking at the remainder of the session. It's about 8 weeks to go, and advancing legislation that has no objections to continue our work. But once we went out into informal session, it gave an opportunity, especially in the months of August, to be able to do more in the district. So I joined with Congressman Moulton, Representative Walsh, and the mayor for the Summer Food Rocks program. We met right at the Peabody Institute Library. It's through Project Bread for the summer food event. And it provides youth under 18 who receive free lunch in school to be able to get free meals during the summer months. So we actually visited with the kids as they were having lunch that day. I think it was hot dogs and hamburgers, cheeseburgers. It looked really good, and there was a pretty big crowd there. And then we talked about how do we keep these opportunities going all summer, not just in Peabody, but all of our communities. It doesn't happen everywhere, but Peabody has stepped up to make sure that all the children are fed in the summertime. So it was really a wonderful way to collaborate with community leaders and with Project Bread to make sure we can really continue this really great program. I also visited the Teregian Family YMCA for a luncheon, again, just to reconnect with the Y, to see all the great programming that they're doing all the time. And again, this was with Representative Walsh, Mayor Betancourt. There were a number of city councilors there. And it was really, really just a great opportunity to share a healthy lunch together. We were right outside, right by the pool. And children came out and actually had made us little bead bracelets that they got. I think they were the kindergartners, so cute. And so I have that bracelet hanging in my State House office in Boston. It was really, really fun. I had mentioned the opiate vigil. That was a couple of weeks ago. And again, just how much we're really trying to provide services to make sure people have the supports they need. The Peabody International Festival was, again, a huge hit this year. It's always fun to come over and enjoy different cultures from all across Peabody. I have a little bit of Portuguese in me, so I was really enjoyed interacting with the Portuguese community. And it's always, again, it just grows every single year, it gets bigger and bigger, and I'm just so proud to represent a community that really supports and promotes and celebrates all cultures. It's really wonderful. We also did a recycling grant announcement this year to make sure that we have, again, adequate funding to increase our recycling efforts. It's really, really important that we do that. We want to eliminate as much contamination as possible, especially plastic bags from household recycling. Plastic bags are tough. I know they're very convenient, but they find themselves into all types of places where you don't want them to be, especially in our oceans. They're very dangerous for our marine life. And currently in the Pacific Ocean is a gyre, and that's spelled G-Y-R-E, I believe, about the size of Texas, and it's all floating material, especially plastic bags and plastic bottles, etc. and we need to be reducing plastics in our trash stream, get them into the recycling stream, and so we can have a healthier earth. We also have more grant opportunities for Peabody, $100,000 for recreational trails program. That's to the Independence Greenway trail to connect the trail to downtown Peabody. So again, really wonderful opportunities again to bring funding to our local communities, including this wonderful community of Peabody, so they can continue to make this a really great place to live, to work, and to play. I will tell you a bill that I'm working on for next session. It's very important to me. Is the sexual abuse of children. We are actually working on putting some much stronger laws into place. Unfortunately, sexual abuse of children continues to be I think, a major health crisis. Upwards of 90% of abuse goes unreported. And the reason why we know that is because we find out later in life when people are actually able to discuss what happened to them as children. And that's when that information, when someone feels comfortable enough, you will see from the #MeToo movement, a lot of people came forward and divulged that they were abused as children. This is something that I will continue to work on, especially in light of what happened in Pennsylvania just a couple of months ago. Again, a clergy sexual abuse scandal, and that it just doesn't, it's completely preventable, and I'm going to work very hard to prevent it. So that's some of the bills and some of the things that we've worked on this session. I know I've been nonstop talking now for quite a bit, and I just wanted to say again, thank you for the opportunity to bring this information to you. I also want to let you know how you can get in contact with my office. Again, State Senator Joan Lovely. You can email us at joan.lovely@masenate.gov. We are also on Twitter at @SenJoanLovely. We are on Facebook at Senator Joan Lovely. Or just give us a call, 617-722-1410. We are here to serve you, and we get quite a few calls on a variety of issues. Sometimes they're about bills. Sometimes they're about very personal issues in people's lives, whether someone's having an unemployment issue. Right now we're hearing quite a bit about the housing crisis and the lack of affordable housing for families. We have a lot of people that are housing insecure, are finding themselves on the verge of homelessness. So we are helping to connect services and with the state, with these individuals, to again prevent them from becoming homeless, and what can we do to be able to help. So please know, give us a call. All this information is all confidential. It does not leave my office, so you can feel comfortable to call with any issue. And if we don't have the answer, we'll try to find the answer and we'll work with you. I also want to say that we work very closely with our federal counterparts, Congressman Moulton's office. He has a terrific staff. Also with Senators Markey and Warren. We work closely with their offices as well. Again, to connect you to federal services should you need them. I want to say again, thank you to our local community partners, Mayor Betancourt, the entire City Council, and school committee, electric light commissioners. I can't tell you how often we interface. It's almost daily. And of course with Representative Tom Walsh and his office, terrific partners, strong partners to bring services to the great citizens of Peabody. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.